let's see that happening. I'm just gonna create a new directory here. Yeah, a new directory. So I'm gonna call it file system test. And let me configure it. All right, and I'm just gonna create a new system, let me see the same name I used here. Okay, so let's call it write.js. So write.js. All right, so I'm gonna import the the fs module. So let fs equal wire s, and let's say I wanna write this text. Okay, hello f file system world. All right, so this is the message, or this is the text I want to be written. So how do I do that? I just call the write file and give it the name. And so this is gonna be a string, whatever string I want to be written, and then a callback function that would be called in case of success. All right, so let's see. Yeah, so success, okay. So it was written, if you open the directory, you will see that the file that we wanted was there. So what if I keep rewriting? So let's say I wanted to write another text, okay? So let's say I'm just gonna add something here. What would happen when we run this code? It will overwrite the file, okay? So if I want to add text to the existing file instead of overwriting, then I can use the append method, okay? There's another function there that we can use to append, okay? Now, before that, let's talk about JSON files. Now, we have worked with JSON files. We talked about how we import them briefly. Okay, now in reality, the file that we call a JSON file is just a plain file, plain text file that has a .json from extension, and inside of it, the content are JSON objects. All right, and we've been talking about that. We talked about that several times. So what if I want to read JSON, these JSON objects? If I just call the require and give it a JSON object, a JSON file, it knows how to parse it. Okay, so we don't need to call the parse method here. So in that case, we have an object that say first name and last name, and what we are doing here is just converting the JSON format to a plain text format. Okay, so it oftentimes you may have what format coming file coming in one format and you want to transform it. So that's one way to do it. You read the original file, and then here we just taken the actual values of the first name and the last name and printing them as plain text. Okay, so what we should be able to see in the file, in the plain text file, is just the names. It's not JSON format anymore. Okay, but what if we have multiple names and we want to print them all? So here, for example, if we have an array, just by calling the require, it will parse it, so we deal with it as an array object, and then we call the append file to write them all. Append file method in order to append to the file instead of overwriting it. Okay. All right. So let's see how does that work here. So let's say we have actually instead of writing the JSON file like this by my hand, I want to write it from the code. So how does that work? So let's say I have an array of points, for example. Or let's start with one simple point. So we have an object called point that has x coordinate that is equal to 10 and y coordinate that's equal to, let's say, 5. And I want to write it in a JSON file. Now here we've seen that we wrote it in a text file, right? Now what if we want to write it in a JSON file? We can use the same function here, right? But let's say we call this points dot JSON. And here I want to send that point object. Do you think I can do this? What do you think? I want to print this object in a JSON file. What do you think? What do you think would happen if I run this? I want to print this point object as in a JSON file. Yes. Well, let's see. That's what we hope for, okay? So let's see what happens when we do that. No, where is it? See what happens? If you update in a different version, it would give you an error. But what happened? It called the toString method automatically. But that's not what we want. Now, if you call the toString method on any object, this is what you get, right? Now, because this function is expecting a string, it's called the toString method. But that's not what we want. We want to do what to this object before we can write it as a JSON format? Stringify it. Yeah, we need to stringify it. So we just say JSON dot stringify point. Then it will put it in the format, the proper format for JSON. Okay, now let's see. Yeah, that's what we want. Okay, what if we have an array of points? So this is points and this is actually array. So let's say these are all right, it's pretty much the same. I just say stringify and give it the array. Now the stringify knows how to stringify an array, just like it knows how to stringify an object, and just like it knows how to parse an array. So if I run this, if I go to points, that's exactly what we want to see, right? Now let's say this is the JSON file that we received, the dataset that we received, and we want to convert it into a comma separated values format. So another common format for dataset is a CSV. So I want to transform this JSON format to a CSV format. What do I do? Okay, I'm just gonna comment this out. So I can just import the JSON. Okay, so points equal wire points to JSON. Okay. Now I wanna add them to the file, but not in the JSON format. So let's say I wanna write a file. I'm just gonna take this. So the file I want is points.csv. And here I'm gonna put something that is the points. Okay, and then I'm leave the comma separate. So first I'm just gonna write the header. Okay, so in the CSV file you will have, it looks like columns with the titles as the names. So the names that we want as the titles are X and Y. Okay, now I want to add the points one by one to this file. So I'm just gonna loop over. So let's point of points, and every time I want to add them to the same file, so I can't use the write function because the write just overwrites the original data. Okay, so instead of write, I will use the append method, and it looks exactly the same except for the name itself. Okay, now here I want to write the actual X value, so point.x comma, and then the y value. All right, and funny thing, we need to add this /n because it's not like a println. It's more like the print, not the println. All right, now let's see if this is gonna work. Now see what happened? There is a CSV file was created. If I open it, I'll see it with in the format that I intended. Okay. All right. So this is one very commonly used built-in module. Okay. Do you guys want a break? Okay. So let's take a break and then we talk about the NPM.